Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I missed the memo about the background. My apologies.
Looks like you have a nice background though, so it looks good. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for letting me host this panel. My name is Cory Rotkel. I'm with Trusted Media Brands, which owns such well-known properties, print and digital, as Reader's Digest, Taste of Home, Family Handyman, and it's for our newest assets and brands like Fail Army, Pet Collective, and Poke My Heart. And today I have the pleasure of hosting a panel with three lovely ladies from OKCupid. So I'm excited to introduce. I know we just got introduced a little bit, but I'll let Jane, Sonia, and Devin introduce themselves and their roles a little bit. But I did want to say I'm super excited about hosting this panel for one big reason is early on in my career in the early 2000s, I did work for another online dating company called Match.com. I was doing events for them for a few years running the East Coast. And since then, I'm sure a lot has evolved in the dating space. And I know we're here to talk about OKCupid's one of the recent campaigns, which has definitely evolved and been a big evolution from my time at Match and some of the marketing they did. So I'm excited to start asking some questions to get down deep of the evolution and some of the recent success. Jane, do you want to start off and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to kick us off. I'm Jane Reynolds. I'm Director of Product Marketing at OKCupid. So I have been at OKCupid for 5.5 years now. I love it. I joke that we're not curing cancer, but after that, helping people find love is pretty up there. So it's a great business to be in. And while I sit on the marketing team, I work really closely with the product team to make sure the amazing work that Devin and Sonia do, bringing people in the door, is reflected in our product experience.
Jade, I'm going to have to agree with you. I feel like you guys are actually doing good in this world where I'm slinging some ads and selling some newsletters. You guys are actually doing good.
Well, we need you too, Cory.
I like to think that, but I think love is more important. I think you guys are bringing people together, which is wonderful. So thank you for that. Sonia, do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonia. I am Senior Director of Global Marketing. I joined OKCupid almost 3 years ago. Can't believe it. And, I've been having a really fun time here. So essentially, I joined the company to help expand OKCupid into international markets where we saw, great organic traction. So I get the pleasure of taking our Match on What Matters brand positioning and launching all over the world. So far we are in Israel, Turkey, Germany. We were in India and a few Southeast Asia countries with more to come.
Wow. And we're going to go a little bit further later in the differentiation in some of the markets, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. And Devin, last but not least, please introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Devin Colleran. I'm the Senior Brand Marketing Manager for OKCupid. I've been here for 4.5 years. And really, I'm responsible for all things brand marketing for the US. Unlike Sonia, I have one country I need to focus on, which is nice. But yeah, ever since I got here, honestly, my job has just been like, let's just make OKCupid cool again. So we'll dive more into that later. Yeah.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So first question is going to be for Devin, and it's regards to your most recent successful campaign. So what was the reaction to every single person?
So I'd like to go into like how it came about, and then you can sort of understand maybe the reaction behind it. But the Every Single Person campaign is really OKCupid's, standing up for like our product truth, and that is matching on what matters, and that everyone is welcome here. OKCupid has always been an inclusive dating app. We like to say we're exclusively inclusive. We have 22 gender options, 20 sexual orientations. We were the first dating app to have pronouns introduced to profiles. So we really are truly for everyone. Every Single Person came about kind of coming out of the pandemic, 2021. At the time it was, do we go with a campaign that was, going to talk about what it's like to date again post-pandemic, right? Is kissing back again? Is everything back again? And, OKCupid is scrappy and we like to stretch our marketing dollars. So we wanted a campaign that would kind of say something more. It would not be just so focused on the pandemic moment. It would have a longer lifetime. And so, we really said, let's, do something that stands for what we stand for, which is inclusivity. So we had basically 20 different provocative images. We worked with the same artists that we worked with on our DTF campaign, which is Maurizio Catalan, who's an amazing Italian artist. He does very bold, provocative looking stuff, very colorful. This campaign was mainly out of home, so it needed to catch eyeballs. So we had things like every single non-monogamist, every single non-binary, every single pansexual. The insights behind that were that people came out of the pandemic. We saw upticks on OKCupid of bisexual. We saw upticks of non-binary. We saw upticks of non-monogamy. You spent so much time in quarantine, you really understood who you were, what you were looking for. So that's a trend that I think other people have seen outside of OKCupid. But so that's the creative that really shaped it. The reaction was amazing. We were very humbled to hear from so many people from those communities to say, I feel so seen. It ran on the New York City subway and people felt very seen to, be like, wow, you put pansexual just right up there on the subway. Like, how cool is that? Never seen that before. But we also always spark controversy. Not everyone loved that. We honestly don't care. And we're definitely here to piss certain people off, because no matter what, everyone deserves love, and that's what we'll always stand up for. So it's been very successful. We ran it again in January. We doubled down on our investment for this campaign. So yeah, it's been great.
Devin, that's actually, you kind of jumped to one of my follow-up questions in terms of controversy. So was it controversy or controversial from more of an overall general population perspective, or more from some current subscribers or members?
Not really members. Honestly, one of the biggest controversies we saw with the campaign was there was this video that went viral. It had 2 million views, I think, across Twitter and Instagram, of a woman ripping down our ads. She was so angry. She ripped down our ads off the subway, filmed the whole thing, and was saying how we were promoting gay relationships, LGBTQ relationships, and that it was propaganda. And we were kind of like, yep, that's exactly what we were doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we're really, again, we're not shy in that department to stand up for people who are underrepresented. Everyone does deserve love at the end of the day. And that's what the tagline is that it's for every single person. So we're very proud of that.
So free media right there, especially with those views right there. So that's getting the name out there, and whether people like it or not. So sometimes there's no such thing as bad PR, right? That's people knowing who you are. Thank you for that.
Time. Yep.
I'm a believer in it. So Sonia, I'm going to redirect the question to you. So how do you adapt to brand campaign messaging in each market, considering you're covering international? I think you're remote somewhere right now, right?
I'm actually in Ghana right now.
Okay, so
we haven't started marketing in Ghana yet. But yeah, so when you think of a global brand, you always think, what is our DNA? What is our positioning? What is our core? And at our core, it's matching on what matters. But with OKCupid, there's also that twist of irreverence. A little bit of controversy, a little bit of breaking the rules. So when we launched in India, we launched with a campaign called Find My Kind, which Jane actually was a big part of that. India was before my time, but India really set the stage of how we would launch internationally, because in India, you look at their cultures and, it's usually typically through family hooking you up, and online dating might not be seen as the go-to. So people don't feel like they have the freedom or that option to find someone of their own. So they wanted to, the campaign was Find My Kind. And it was very controversial, in the OKCupid way. When we launched in Turkey, similar to Find Your Kind, it was someone like you, so because Turkey has a little bit more conservative nature. So breaking all of the rules, using a dating app to find someone like you, and using our questions, because OKCupid, we pride ourselves on having thousands and thousands of questions that allow you to really match on what matters. And the algorithm just magically puts your percent score together and you can match on what matters. And then Southeast Asia, when we launched in Indonesia, it was for someone like you, but it was still breaking the rules and breaking that traditional norm of being match made. Now, when we launched in Germany, we launched in Berlin last fall. Berlin, we see it as more progressive city, a city that's more open, a city that can take more risks. So what we did was we took the US Amazing for Every Single Person campaign and adapted it slightly. So we took the creatives, but we changed the brand messaging. So instead of being for every single person, we decided we wanted to promote the relationship app. We wanted to promote that you will find a relationship. And the reason why we didn't just say for every single person is because two things. Single does not translate in German as a double entendre like it does in the US. So you always have to keep these things in mind when it comes to language and translation and culture and how people meet and all of the different ways that people date globally. And then secondly, OKCupid, we're in the very infancy of brand marketing in Germany. So what we did was we wanted to really introduce the brand as a dating app. In the USPs, we focused on relationship. So the positioning was better matches for all. Date someone who is as passionate as you. Date someone who's as spontaneous as you. And using the creatives from the US team from their every single person campaign and modifying it. We had great success. We actually just launched into Munich and Hamburg and Berlin, again, another hit this week. So that's really how we look at international. But then, this is probably a great segue for Jane, but our questions that we incorporate in the product must be culturally relevant. So we wouldn't ask a question about the Super Bowl in Israel or in Turkey, even though they might know what it is, it wouldn't be something that would be of interest for them. So we work really closely with the markets and with Jane and her team on the product side to be able to launch questions that are locally relevant for the people in those countries.
There's actually a chat question that I'll ask Sonia to follow up. So how did you operationalize the localization to each country, and who made that decision?
Oh, well, for us, it's not the hardest decision because we look at organic traction and we see where are users using us with no marketing? And then where do we have the best product fit? And then also you look at other economic factors such as who has, the infrastructure for Wi-Fi, who are people who are in the bigger city areas, what's the culture there? Is it very open? And, we take those into consideration. But what I love about OKCupid that we do that some of my other companies when I was in global marketing didn't do as well is that we do a lot of testing and learning. So we don't just go full throttle in the market, especially with limited brand budgets. We take our time. We test, we do our research, and then when we see it as a success, we'll start investing more. So it takes a little bit longer, but we would rather, kind of tread lightly versus putting all our eggs in one basket. So that's in summary how we determine international markets. Yeah.
Another question, it could be for anyone or Sonia, like in terms of OKCupid overall, is there a certain demographic that you guys look out to go promote? Is it younger? Is it millennials? Are there, people, Gen Z? What's the breakdown? And is each market different? Or some markets, is it just like, I'm 45, right? If I was to, and when I was doing research before, just so I did give my wife a heads up, I said, if you see an app on my phone, just so you know, it's for research purposes, right? But, is it some markets, is it heavier, like 40 plus, like maybe like people second time around? Are there any like kind of targets that you guys look at to differentiate per market or per country?
I'll start for the US.
Okay, go ahead.
Sonia. For the US, really, it's that like 18 to 34 bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's who's, which is a huge age gap because you've got people entering the dating scene who potentially have not heard of OKCupid before, right? They don't have that history. The brand's been around since 2007, but they might not know us. But then that 25 to 34 range is kind of another bucket of like, you've been on the dating scene a while, you probably have a couple dating apps on your phone. We're one in the mix there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're also more, OKCupid takes a little bit of time to sign up, right? You have to answer 15 questions. You have to fill out your profile. It's a little bit more of a sign up process than some other apps. So you have a higher intent user. You have someone who's really, if they're going to take the time to fill out a profile, they're pretty serious about dating. However, I will say again, for everyone, whether you're looking for someone for Saturday night or someone for the rest of your life, we kind of feel, that it's a big range. But that's US focus for sure. But yeah, we have single parents in their 50s for sure. In terms of who we're marketing to, it's the younger city-based city-based data. So New York, LA, Chicago, those are big markets for us.
Okay, that makes sense. And then Sonia, so from more of an international perspective, does it really vary based on what Devin was just saying?
So yeah, it does vary. So the strategy as far as targeting is Germany is the same as the US. When you look at Israel, because after high school, they go to the military for a year. Then after that, they'll travel, then they'll go to university. So that by the time they're really at that age to date, that's when they, usually about 25, 26, right? So they see OKCupid as a serious dating app or looking for relationships. So it's a higher intent, like Devin was saying. So we typically, that's our sweet spot. It's like 27. But what we're doing now, and it's a test strategy, is to see how can we bring the younger consumer on the journey with us? Because we've seen, with what we pride ourselves in, activism, being there, like climate change and Black Lives Matter. We know that's for the younger at heart, those who are willing to go out and protest. So we're playing around with trying to attract a younger consumer right now in our new ad campaign, which launches at the end of this month, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. But that too, so it's the nuances that we look at by market, based on your dating culture of that country.
Understood.
Yeah, I would even add to that too, because obviously we can't be everything to everyone, right? That you can't do that. But so instead, it's almost more, while we do kind of target this certain age group to a degree, we're more so going after intentional daters. So, if you are, as Devin mentioned, willing to answer these 15 questions and fill out this profile, it's at least showing that you're someone who wants to do more than just like put up a picture. And so that's kind of the people we're looking after. And, our overarching, brand message and narrative is match on what matters. So just like Sonia was saying, we're getting those people who are matching on issues. We saw a major increase of that during the pandemic. And so the people that are downloading OkCupid and going through that process are the ones who really are looking to connect with someone. Again, could that be a casual connection? Yes, but the idea is at least that you have relatively shared values before, we always like, it's better to know before you go on the date. You don't want that like red flag to show up or that deal breaker to show up when you're on the date. Everyone's been there and it's not fun. So that's ultimately what we're trying to avoid.
I know even when I was working for Match back in the day, we always encouraged everyone to put pictures up, right? And I know that's initially you see someone's visual, and you guys go much deeper than that, and that's where the algorithm comes in and all the questions. But even when I went on like the other day, it said we know you should have a photo, right? So at least that's like our first glimpse. How important, like you guys are more than just like than looks, right? Because then that's where the algorithm really comes in to make sure that when you answer these questions, you can really fine tune the match. And it seems like it's really an important process. To Devin, to your point earlier, like you might be one of many apps that are on there. Do you find, on someone's phone, do you find people, loyal to OkCupid, right? Because it's a different type of dating experience, correct?
Yeah. And we have a very loyal fan base also, because we also have people who have maybe been on the app for years, right? Yeah. Because they might be poly, they might be in a non-monogamous relationship. And so we are their app. And really, if you want to know, if you're a straight single girl and you want to know whether your date voted for Trump, whether they think climate change is real, whether they support reproductive rights, and you want to know that before the date, we have tons of girls who are like, someone who voted for Trump, right? Like that was a thing. We're the only app you can do that on. And so I think we have a very loyal fan base for that reason. It's we really give people, and someone put in the chat, a friend wanted me to say thank you for the detailed profile form. They're now married. I actually read their profile. 45 of the 50 questions matched.
Beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, our profile's set up to have you take that second look, right? We have profile badges. So right now, we actually just yesterday, we launched our climate change advocate badge. So this will be my plug. Download OkCupid, get your climate change advocate badge, email jane@okcupid.com. We'll set you up with premium. We actually have a little team competition going of who can get more people to join with premium. So I'm like, Jane at OKCupid. But yeah, so the profile is set up to really have these badges where it's like, yes, you can see their photo, but then you also can see the values that are important to them. And then also the match percentage. That's another reason, because when you see, once it's 90% or above, we change the color of that to pink, from blue to pink. So it really kind of signals and pops to you that this is a real match. And you are matching on these questions that we've also done a ton of research on to see this is super important in your market. This is something that's timely, and you're able to, it's called the match score drill down, but we have this kind of tray that pops up that you can click and see the questions that you agree on, the questions that you disagree on. We also, like, our algorithm is, state of the art kind of stuff. I mean, you also rank the importance of every question to you too. So if you and I both mark something as very important, or, some of our questions we say that they're either conversation starters or deal breakers. So conversation starter might be like, one of them is cilantro. Am I not going to go on a date with you if you say that you don't like cilantro and I do? Probably I'm still willing to go on a date with you, but it's just something that kind of helps make that initial connection.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. One question, I think, just a question, someone just said, like, gave feedback on a friend that got married. I know that's a beautiful thing about what you guys do, right? Is when you make those connections. Do you also are able to get feedback on, like, what kind of first dates work best, right? And help guide your audience on, like, all right, like, especially as we get the pandemic, people are more comfortable doing coffee outside, or, or dinners are still, people are hesitant, especially that first time around, not knowing other people's kind of, background and how active they are out there and stuff like that. What do you guys get feedback from your audiences as well through that too? Not just like marriage, which is beautiful, and kids down the line, but other things as well too that they're doing.
We have questions in the product about that. So it does help people, I wouldn't say that there's one, this is like the perfect first date. I would have done it by now, but I do think that, we have these questions in the product that are, especially with pandemic, different varying levels of comfort degree, right? So we had those questions in the product, and you can see if you agree or disagree on them, which also just kind of takes away the awkward conversation. We help you kind of skip that, because it's when you're first meeting someone new, it's butterflies and it's awkward and you don't know what's the right thing to ask or not. And so it kind of takes the guessing game out of that. So you could find people who also want to go on a walk or grab coffee or get drinks or whatever it may be. And another thing that we launched in the space too, which we actually did in collaboration with the White House, was a vaccinated badge. So, right when the vaccine came out, we worked with the White House on it because it was an effort to get more people vaccinated. And we gave everyone a free boost. It just gets your profile shown to more people. So we gave everyone who, opted in, said they were vaccinated, a free boost to get them shown to more people. But that was another way of just like, okay, this is making me feel more comfortable about dating again because this person's vaccinated, et cetera. So
that's great. That's great. Really getting involved there. Sonia, I'm gonna follow back up with you with a question. What's important to the brand to keep consistent across each market? Which, as you got into it, I know it could be difficult, right? Because based on different like language barriers and cultural differences, what is most important to keep consistent? Is it the fun atmosphere and people being honest with themselves and who they are looking to, participate with or get involved with?
Yeah, I think what we were saying before about matching on what matters is what we want to keep consistent, and however you translate that in your market is, culturally is up to you. But we really want to make sure that you understand that we have all these questions that can really help you identify, like Jane was saying, like, you don't have to worry about going on a date and meeting someone who you would never talk to and have just such dramatic differences. So as long as we're able to translate that globally, so the match on what matters messaging, the fact that you're able to date somebody with substance and somebody who you would basically, you feel like you would know before or ahead of time, but also I think, one thing that we're trying to incorporate is just the diversity of our product and the diversity of our users where we can. So for our launch in Israel, we are looking at, a few trends. We had a transgender model, we had gays, we had Ethiopians, different races, different backgrounds, because not only can you imagine what matters, but we also want to know that it's for everybody. So like that, and we all we have, our internally, we always try to speak the same language, like we're exclusively inclusive. And then that alone will just show you that we want you to see that for yourself. So we don't necessarily have to say like, hey, Black people are on here, but we want to show and demonstrate that it's open for everybody. And that's something that we need to ensure that we do globally.
Got it. Open for everybody. Love it. Love it. Jane, I'm gonna go back to you now. So how do you incorporate the brand marketing into the product?
So there are a lot of different ways that we do that. One cool thing is actually, as Devin touched upon too, a lot that we see from the product is reflected and kind of drives our brand campaign. So, when we do see that more users are non-binary now, et cetera. But we do a lot of work in the app store. So with everything that Sonia's doing, going into other markets, we make sure that we optimize our app store presence to fit the marketing in that country. So, you see OKCupid on a billboard, you see the campaign, it's different in each market. You come to the app store and it makes sense to you. You're like, okay, yes, I'm in the right place. That's what I saw on my commute. This looks the same. I'm going to download. And also really, our questions are such a main part of the product and how we incorporate everything that's in our brand campaigns as well. So, if it's the for every tree hugger, because we saw, this increase in interest in advocating against climate change, et cetera. And we have those questions in the product to make sure that we are really connecting people. We say you can connect on this in the ad. Well, you really can when you come in to OKCupid. And, we talk about our questions all the time because it gives us such interesting data. And it also, but, I will say, one thing that I really pride us on is having all these questions. It's not easy, right? It's a heavy lift as we're translating into Turkish, into German, into French. Other apps, like when they don't barely even have to translate, right? Because they translate, sure, the instructions for downloading your profile, but then almost all of the rest of the content is user generated. But that's not the case for OKCupid. We have thousands of questions. And we also want to make sure that these questions are relevant to your market and are also reflecting moments in time. So, as Sonia said too, we're not going to ask you about the Super Bowl if you're not in the US. And we also customize our questions by gentation as well. So we have specific questions that are just for gay men, bi women, gay women. And, asking questions that will be relevant to you and your match that might not be elsewhere.
Got it. So you talk about the questions a lot, right? It's a little more in depth. Is that and basically being open for everybody, right? Is that how you mostly differentiate your product from the other dating apps and dating websites out there?
The questions and that driving up match percentage, I would say, is certainly one of our key factors. There are lots of points that I will say that we really pride ourselves on and our differentiators as well. So, touched upon our badges, but we are the only app that lets you filter on those things. So you can filter specifically for people who are vaccinated. You can filter specifically for people who are pro-choice. You can't do that elsewhere. And that's really something that's amazing to do. We were also the first dating app that's not LGBTQ specific to release pronouns for people's profiles. So we're constantly iterating the product and trying to, have something, why OKCupid? Because to also in Devin's point, people are on multiple dating apps. And so it's very likely that you will see some of the same people, but our point is kind of, we package you better on OKCupid and we show who you really are on OKCupid. So you actually might be getting a lot more likes from intentional daters on OKCupid than you might be on another dating app, because we're really showing who you are and letting you shine through versus being, one in many sea of photos.
Got it. Okay, that's great. So, okay, that answers my question there. And just to open up to the audience, to the participants, if anyone has any questions, please put in the chat. and I'll be able to read that. So I guess, one thing I'll ask as well too is, I guess, well, you guys seem to love what you guys do, and where do you see, OKCupid in 5 years from now? Devin, I see you nodding your head thinking about it. Do you want to take that, or you want to pass it off?
Jane looks like she's got an answer already.
I'm ready. Well, I was going to say, I certainly see us in more markets, right? Sonia's doing an amazing job getting us all over the globe. And, Sonia was just in Israel. And I really do think that we're just going to continue to expand into more markets and be able to continue to customize, and also more languages as well. And and then just continue to, I would just say, make the best dating app out there. So continuing to iterate and really draw in, more people, and be able to sustain a larger user base, as we do see that it's not necessarily anymore the dating world of yesterday, of you meet someone, you get married. It's possible you'll get back into the pool if you get divorced, but you don't know, like the plan is kind of like marry and done. It's not like that anymore. People are dating, have longer dating careers.
Good for your business though. I hate to say, it might be good for the divorce, might be good for your business though, right? Repeat offender, which could be good for you, right?
Well, we don't wish it, right? Because,
of course,
our hope is that you do, if you are looking for a monogamous long-term marriage, our hope is that it works out for you. And what we want you to do in that case is just tell all of your friends, right? And have them come when they get divorced. But yeah, that would be my answer to that. I don't know if anyone wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah, I think from the brand marketing perspective is that, and I think we're already doing this, but what I hope is 5 years from now, we're doing this maybe even on a bigger scale, is just continuing to be a brand that is culturally relevant, that when there are moments, that happen, continue to happen, like when Black Lives Matter happened, when Trump got elected, whenever those are things that daters are talking about, that
Sure.
OKCupid is at the forefront of that conversation in a bigger way. And, again, I think we're already doing this, but if I look back at where we were 4 years ago to where we are today, we are now being asked like, oh, OKCupid is, really taking a stand on reproductive rights. Like, you're one of the only companies who is. I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud to work for a company that is. So I hope 5 years from now we're doing that, but maybe just on an even bigger scale. So we're small, but we're mighty.
I could tell. That's great. Sonia, from like an international perspective, where do you want to expand upon?
Well, to Jane's point, we can spread love all around the world. I'm down for it. I'm here for it, but love to do that. And for me, 5 years down the road, I think we're just going to continue to iterate on our algorithm and our matching. So who knows, maybe you'll be able to go onto the app, and all of a sudden you're going to see everybody who likes ketchup on their fries. I'm making all of this up. But fine-tuning our algorithm so that we make it even more easier for you to match. And like CEO says, we'll have seats at the same table. So you can have conversations with people who might love the same football team as you, and just give people more of accessibility to have these conversation starters through the product. And this will be global. And to Jane's point, I give our product team a lot of credit for the translation process, because it's not easy. Because translation not only is just it's a direct translation, but it also, there's some slangs that are involved. There's more than just the grammar. There's a lot more involved with translating and being a global app. But that's what I would like to see in the next 5 years.
Got it. Thank you. So I had another question that kind of popped up, but Jane, if there's any visuals you want to show to the participants, anything? I know we've gone into a lot and kind of covered a lot too, but if you want to show anything, feel free. And then I'll let you get some time. But I wanted to ask, with talking about the pandemic early on too, when did you guys find that people started feeling comfortable kind of getting back to in real life? I mean, I remember early on in the pandemic, I was listening to podcasts and people were doing like the virtual coffee dates, right? Which must have been different. As a salesperson myself, like virtual selling. There's been tons of books out there now, 6 months, a year later, there was about best ways to, conduct, webinars or sales meetings. And it's different, right? Like the rapport, the just kind of the feedback you get from somebody, you can't see what their hands are doing, how engaged they are they on their phone, what kind of feedback do you get from people when they were more comfortable going back out there, and like you said, like the badges, maybe that helped, right? Like people like, okay, I'm vaxxed, right? Or I'm boosted. Like I feel more comfortable with this person because they showed that badge on their profile.
Yeah, that definitely drove. Sorry, go ahead, Devin.
Oh, I was gonna say, I really don't think there was ever a moment where dating apps in general, OkCupid specifically, were really not needed from the beginning of the pandemic. And I will never forget our first company all hands, Shar, who's, CEO of Match. We had a call and, I think it was like March, maybe April. And what we had learned was, dating apps and OkCupid just serve a hierarchical need, that you need love and connection no matter what, whether that is virtual or in person, because people never stopped talking, right? People never stopped connecting on the app. You needed it more than ever. So yes, it changed what in-person dating looked like. And we're definitely expecting this summer to be kind of like the summer of love. Everyone is fully vaccinated. Everyone is back. Everyone is feeling much more comfortable. So we're expecting a very big surge this summer. So that's really exciting. But I would say throughout the pandemic, I think we consistently saw that people still needed connection. It just looked different, whether you were talking on the phone, FaceTime, virtual dates, whatnot. But, it's kind of a core part of of who we are as human beings, which is really cool.
Yeah. And the IRL piece, I will say that we did see an uptick with people after the vaccine badge and after the vaccine was just available in general, seeing people having interest in, meeting in person again. And it's been cyclical, right? Then we had Omicron and people also went back to wanting to do virtual. But, at this moment in time, also as offices are reopening and people are boosted as well, we're seeing that, that in real life connection increase too. So yeah, it's just been, we'll continue to ride the wave, but people are seeming to definitely be wanting to meet in person again.
That's great. That's great. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add? We do have more time left. I want to open up to the participants as well, but anything else you guys want to add or share that maybe wasn't covering some of the questions I had directed at you guys?
No, just start typical push. We want to bring all of you interesting people who love marketing into OkCupid in the dating space if you are out there. So definitely download OkCupid, and we love chatting about it. So
we'll take all questions, including how to improve my dating app profile,
yes.
marketing questions.
Yes.
We talk about in real life, and Devin mentioned, which I love, the summer of love. I feel like it's the 60s again, right? It's like, what about like OkCupid events down the line? Is that something that, you guys put together, like big events or festivals of love, or however you guys might want to label it? Is that something that the company looks at, or look at those activations?
We're looking at it, and we're definitely looking at some for Pride specifically. Nothing is really set in stone. I think, we're kind of still just keeping an eye on, people's comfortability there, but it does seem like events are going to be back. Festivals are certainly back. So, we're kind of a small team. Events are a big lift.
Sure.
But yeah, we're definitely not against them.
You guys did say you're a lean team, so.
Yeah.
But in Turkey, we are having, we actually are sponsoring a music festival this summer in Turkey and Istanbul in June, I believe. So as I mentioned, every market is a little different, but we'll be doing that in Turkey in the summer.
Good luck with that. Sounds exciting. That does sound exciting. Well, I don't know if there's nothing else you guys want to add. Jane, were there any slides that you wanted to share as we have some time left, or?
I don't know.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I kind of just spoke to it.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Carrie, how do we proceed from here if there's no more questions from the audience?
If there's no more questions, we might end up wrapping early, but I can't imagine with you lot, there wouldn't be questions. I know between the three of you today and Melissa, who spoke with us down in Austin, I will never not attend a speaking event with OKCupid because you guys are phenomenal.
Thank you. This was so fun. Thank you guys
We were
for
all trying to
organizing.
channel our inner Melissa because she definitely can rally up the crowd.
There was definitely some hooping and hollering in the audience in
Yeah.
Austin when she was on stage.
Sorry, I missed that. I got asked like the week before, and I was like, I need more than a week to go to South by Southwest. Give me some time.
We'll send you over the link.
Please do. Please do. Well, I want to thank you guys. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure chatting with you and talking to you and learning more about the business and the evolution for me of online dating, because I've been on the scene for a little while. But this is great. I wish you guys obviously the best of luck.
Thank you, Corey. Thanks
Much
for the
for having us.
questions.
Yeah, of
Thank you.
course.
Thanks so much,
Follow
everyone.
OKCupid on Instagram.
All of the
Hit
market
us up on
message to us.
LinkedIn.